Welcome, friends, to Explain It Simple. Imagine a different world. A world where geopolitical lines didn't always reflect the divisions we see today. Just a few decades ago, an unexpected story unfolded in the Middle East. A surprising historical paradox. It's a tale about a relationship that began in a way many might not expect, between two nations we now see on opposite sides. Before 1979, the picture was entirely different. Under the reign of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran was on a completely distinct path. It might surprise many, but the Shah's Iran not only recognized Israel, but was the first Muslim-majority nation to establish friendly and official relations with it. There were clear diplomatic, trade and cultural ties, charting a course entirely different from what we know today. But then, 1979 arrived, and everything changed. With the Islamic Revolution sweeping through Iran, the entire dynamic shifted radically. Iran immediately severed all diplomatic ties with Israel. In a powerful symbolic act, the Israeli embassy in Tehran was famously handed over to the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, signaling a new era of fervent support for the Palestinian cause and a stark opposition to Israel. This new era brought a clear shift in Iran's foreign policy. Tehran's stance became openly hostile towards Israel, a position that rapidly solidified into a core principle. Iran began actively supporting various groups and movements, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Palestine. These organizations, which Israel and the United States classify as terrorist groups, became key components of Iran's strategy, further deepening the divide and shaping the modern regional landscape. This support wasn't just rhetorical. Iran aggressively sought to expand its influence across the Middle East, specifically through backing what it calls the Axis of Resistance. This network includes influential groups in countries like Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Israel, on the other hand, viewed this expanding Iranian influence as a direct and existential threat to its national security. Because of this, Israel began increasingly targeting Iranian interests and their proxies in the region, particularly in Syria, aiming to dismantle this growing sphere of influence. Adding another layer of complexity is Iran's nuclear program. Israel considers Iran's potential acquisition of nuclear weapons an extremely dangerous existential threat that cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. While Iran consistently maintains that its nuclear program is peaceful and solely for energy and medical purposes, Israel's deep-seated concern has led it to repeatedly hint at potential preemptive strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, adding another layer of intense mutual tension and threat. And in recent times, we've witnessed a perilous shift. While the conflict between Iran and Israel was often limited to a proxy war or shadow war, the most recent period, especially since 2024 onwards, has seen an unprecedented escalation into confrontations. Iran and Israel have exchanged missile and drone attacks directly on each other's territories, clearly indicating a new and far more perilous phase in this historical conflict. Why has the shadow war between Iran and Israel escalated into direct confrontation? Recently, the conflict between Iran and Israel has escalated dramatically, transforming from a mere proxy war into a direct exchange of missiles and drones. This dangerous escalation has several interconnected core reasons. Let's break them down. 1. Escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program. Israel harbors existential fears regarding Iran's nuclear program. They believe Iran's uranium enrichment has reached critically dangerous levels, nearing the capability to produce nuclear weapons. Israel considers this an unacceptable existential threat. From their perspective, diplomatic efforts to contain the program have either failed or become ineffective, leading them to feel that time is running out and pushing them toward more aggressive actions. This includes Israel's preemptive strikes, involving widespread aerial attacks deep inside Iran, directly targeting suspected nuclear facilities, missile production sites, and key military and scientific leaders. Israel views these preventive strikes as necessary for its self-defense. 2. Weakening Iran's axis of resistance. Another crucial factor is Israel's persistent effort to weaken Iran's axis of resistance. Israel has launched powerful strikes against Iran's allies and proxies in the region, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. These operations have inflicted significant losses on the leadership and capabilities of these groups. Furthermore, the assassination of key senior figures from Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, especially in Syria and Lebanon, recently pushed Iran to direct retaliation. Iran considers these assassinations a blatant breach of red lines. Additionally, the weakening of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, a strategic ally for Iran, has broadly weakened the axis of resistance, leading Israel to believe there's a window of opportunity to deliver a decisive blow to Iran's regional influence. 3. The shift from shadow to direct confrontation. This brings us to the most prominent and dangerous cause of the current direct clashes, the transformation from a shadow war to open confrontation. A pivotal moment occurred in April 2024, when Israel carried out an airstrike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, killing several senior Iranian military commanders. Iran condemned this as a blatant violation of its sovereignty, even on Syrian soil, and vowed a direct response. Iran then made good on its promise with an unprecedented direct retaliation, launching hundreds of drones and ballistic missiles straight at Israel from its territory. This was the first time Iran had directly targeted Israel from its soil, marking a truly unprecedented escalation. A subsequent Israeli counterstrike inside Iran followed, effectively drawing both sides into a dangerous new cycle of direct exchanges. In conclusion, the recent direct missile exchanges and the current heightened state of conflict between Iran and Israel stem from a dangerous combination of Israel's escalating fears about Iran's nuclear program, Israel's sustained targeting of Iranian leadership and proxies aims to diminish Iran's regional influence, Iran's decision to retaliate directly from its territory, viewing recent Israeli actions as a clear breach of previous rules of engagement. These factors have propelled this long-standing rivalry into a perilous new phase, significantly increasing the risks of a wider regional conflict. Ever wondered how a single nation can pull the strings in one of the world's most dangerous geopolitical showdowns? As tensions between Iran and Israel surge, transforming from a shadowy proxy conflict into direct missile and drone exchanges, there's a third party whose influence is undeniable: the United States of America. America's role in this complex dance is multifaceted, acting as a crucial player, a subtle mediator, and at times, a fierce defender. Let's unwrap how they fit into this volatile equation. 1. Strategic support for Israel. First, let's talk about the bedrock of the US approach, its deep, historic alliance with Israel. This isn't just friendship, it's built on substantial political, military, and economic support. The US provides massive military aid, including cutting-edge weaponry and technology like the Iron Dome defense system, which we've recently seen in action intercepting Iranian missiles. Washington's commitment to Israel's security is unwavering, viewing any attack on it as a direct threat to regional stability. This commitment often compels them to intervene, directly or indirectly, to defend Israel. 2. The maximum pressure policy on Iran. On the other side of the coin, the US has a clear and aggressive policy towards Iran. Maximum pressure. After withdrawing from the Iranian nuclear deal, the JCPOA, in 2018, the US imposed an unprecedented campaign of economic sanctions on Iran. The goal? To cripple Iran's nuclear and missile programs and curb its regional influence. And it's not just economic pressure. Successive US administrations, including President Trump's, have explicitly threatened military action against Iran if it doesn't scale back its nuclear activities or stop supporting armed groups in the region. 3. Containing Iranian regional influence. The United States actively seeks to contain Iran's expanding influence, often alongside Israel and other regional partners, by targeting its proxies in countries like Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq. The US maintains a significant military presence across the Middle East, with bases, warships, and aircraft. This presence acts as a powerful deterrent against Iran, while simultaneously protecting American interests and those of its allies. 4. Intermittent mediation and diplomatic efforts. Despite the deep-seated animosity, there have been intermittent diplomatic attempts by the US to negotiate with Iran, especially concerning its nuclear program. We've seen this during periods like the Biden administration, and even hints from the Trump administration about potential future talks under their terms. The US frequently tries to contain direct escalation between Iran and Israel. Why? To avert a wider regional war that could severely damage its own interests, disrupt global oil flow, and potentially devastate the world economy. 5. Role in the recent escalation. In the most recent surge of hostilities, the US officially stated it did not directly participate in Israel's strikes inside Iran. However, they provided direct military and defensive support to Israel, aiding in the interception of Iranian missiles and drones. Reports also suggest a degree of strategic coordination and prior consultation between Washington and Tel Aviv regarding these strikes. The US continues to issue stern warnings to Iran and maintain pressure, all while actively working to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control into a full-scale regional conflict. In essence, America isn't just observing this conflict, it's a pivotal player, leveraging every tool at its disposal. It fiercely supports Israel, exerts maximum pressure on Iran, and strives to curtail its influence. Simultaneously, it works tirelessly to manage the escalation and keep the entire region from collapsing into a destructive regional war. This complex, active role makes the US an indispensable piece in understanding this ongoing conflict. Can this war consume the entire region? The escalating conflict between Iran and Israel isn't just a clash between two sides. No, it poses an extremely dangerous threat to the entire region, raising grave concerns for the stability of the Middle East and the world. So what are the primary reasons this conflict is such an imminent danger to all of us? 1. Risk of widespread conflict, regional war. The first and most severe risk is the potential for the conflict to expand. When two parties like Iran and Israel begin exchanging direct blows, the danger of drawing other nations into the war dramatically increases. Neighbouring countries could become battlegrounds or bases for attacks, whether cooperatively or against their will. Furthermore, Iran might push its proxies in the region, like Hezbollah in Lebanon or groups in Iraq and Syria, to intensify their attacks, raising the likelihood of the war spreading deeper into Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. And let's not forget that any significant escalation could lead to direct intervention from global powers like the United States, transforming the conflict into a wider confrontation with global ramifications. 2. Destabilizing regional security and stability. This war directly threatens regional security. Countries with strong ties to either side, whether allies or adversaries, could experience severe internal unrest, become vulnerable to retaliatory attacks, or turn into proxy battlegrounds. Any wide-scale war in the region would inevitably lead to massive waves of displacement, exacerbating existing refugee crises and placing immense pressure on neighbouring countries. Beyond that, escalation could lead to the closure of airspace and vital shipping lanes, such as the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of the world's oil supply passes, and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This would directly impact the economies of the Arabian Gulf states and Egypt, Suez Canal. 3. Devastating economic repercussions. The economic fallout is catastrophic. Any disruption to oil supplies from the Arabian Gulf would lead to a skyrocketing of global oil prices, harming both global and regional economies. Such instability would also deter foreign direct investments and cripple the tourism sector, both vital sources of income for many countries in the region. And naturally, armed conflict would result in the destruction of infrastructure, disruption of supply chains, and a worsening of humanitarian crises, leading to food and medicine shortages and even greater disasters. 4. The nuclear threat. Long term. In the long term, there's an even greater threat. If these tensions lead Iran to accelerate its nuclear program or push it towards acquiring a nuclear weapon, it would constitute an existential threat to all nations in the region. It could also trigger a regional nuclear arms race, making the Middle East far more dangerous than it already is. The big picture, a region on edge. In essence, this conflict isn't confined to just Iran and Israel. It poses a real and immediate danger to regional security, economic stability, and social peace across the entire Middle East. The fate of millions could well be determined by the trajectory of this escalating struggle. Final thoughts. What's next for the Middle East? From the surprising cordiality under the Shah, to the seismic shift of the 1979 revolution, to the deeply entrenched animosity fueled by the nuclear program and regional influence, and finally to the terrifying leap into direct military confrontation, the story of Iran and Israel is a testament to how history shapes the present. The US, as we've seen, is not merely an observer, it's a pivotal force, simultaneously supporting Israel, pressuring Iran, containing its influence, and constantly working to prevent a full-blown regional war that could reshape the world as we know it. The question remains, can diplomacy, deterrence, or regional efforts truly contain this volatile rivalry? Or is the Middle East on the brink of an even more profound, dangerous transformation? Only time will tell how this complex saga unfolds. Thank you for joining us on Explain It Simple, where we break down the complex. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the world's most critical events.